Hey, Salon Sleuth fans. It's been a while since you've heard my voice, but I'm back and I have a story for you.
My name is Leslie, and in the past, I did this with my friend Melissa, and I have a salon because we meet so many different people in the salon, and everybody has so many different stories. Then we just started to share them, and most of them end up being about like true crime, paranormal, um, and like you, like Bigfoot or creatures, ghost stories, whatever. We were always interested. And then I saw your post, and then of course I reached out and asked if you want to tell your story. So
Right.
we're all caught up. That's where we are right now. So if you would like to introduce yourself, and then kind of a little bit of your background, and then I'd love to hear your story.
Okay. My name is Stephanie. I live in Spokane, Washington. I'm a wife and mother of three. My family's originally from Chewelah and Kettle Falls in Northport, Washington, way up north by the Canadian border. Childhood, we did a lot outdoors, obviously going to family's house, but again, still lived up north and um, just really enjoyed the outdoors when I was younger. It's kind of, I think, a gist. And now that I'm older, I'm an avid fisherman, or I like to call myself an anglist because I'm a girl, I'm not a man. But we go a lot of different places here on our side of Washington to fish and hike and really enjoy being outside. Really,
Yeah, and you have grizzlies up there, don't you?
yes.
Which I have never seen a grizzly. We have black bears down here. Um, which I've only seen black bears, and I don't think I've ever seen even a cougar other than at the zoo. Um, you probably have seen some other things, but um, being that you're a fisherman as well, you probably ran into all kinds of stuff. But
Yes, I
uh,
have.
yeah, I'm guessing because I've met some people that live up in that area, and especially if you're outside a lot, you've come across a lot of different things. But which brings me to kind of what you have recently just saw.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear about that story because I'm not even sure you know what you saw, right?
And that's the truth, is
Okay.
that I can't, I'm not going to say that I know exactly, because it was something that I have never seen in my entire life, and it's something that I had never heard of through family, um growing up, which, like, I had heard of Bigfoot. My great grandma talked about him, my grandmother talked about him, all of my uncles. So this was something that he I knew was a possibility, definitely not this, for
Because your
sure.
whole family is from that area. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Way up in the mountains.
Okay. So they probably have they've seen Bigfoot in the past, and these are
Yes,
stories that they were like they were passed down through the families.
absolutely.
Okay.
And avid hunters, and they would say, "Oh, we seen him," when they were out hunting and coming back and hearing that, and it's definitely something that we know is real up
Yeah.
in these, for sure.
Interesting. Okay. Then let's go into your story.
Yeah, so my friend and I, her name's Melissa, we had decided to go on a night drive, something that isn't abnormal for us. We would just kind of get a full tank of gas and just go wherever the road takes us, kind of, as long as, and we'd get someplace, and at about half a tank, we'd end up coming back home because we knew that's how much it took to get us there. And we had ventured our way into Idaho, and we stopped at a couple places, and we had discovered a couple of really cool bays that we didn't know were there, and we were really excited about that, thinking, oh well, the next day we'll bring the kids back. She has children of her own, and just kind of exploring in that sense. It was late at night, it was probably about 9 or 10, not the smartest thing to be doing, but we've never had issues before, so we just continued on. We got into a small town in Idaho, and Sagal, Idaho. And there was this sign that part of the letters were like the name of it. Part of those letters were like worn down. So we couldn't see the name, but it said Bay. And we thought, oh gosh, could be another one, you know? So we hopped on the road and started taking up the mountain and what felt like, gosh, it seemed like forever. I thought that maybe it was an old sign, like maybe this isn't, you know, what it is anymore. Um, we ended up finding the bay, and it was a cute little town at that point. It was about 10:30. Um, super cute. And we thought, oh, how fun would it be? Now, by this time, we had downed our sodas and we needed to pee. And so we seen coming up into the bay that there was a public boat launch, and nobody was awake at this point. I mean, no one. And so we decided to stop there and go pee really quick. I'm sorry. It's just, so we pulled in and everything seemed like it, I mean, it's dark, but normal, you know. We went and got a little pamphlet out of the informational sign. We realized that we were at Garfield Bay Public Boat Launch. She had pulled in and had her brights on because I was like, I'm not peeing in the dark. I don't want nothing biting me. And so she was going to take a watch for me just in case, and I would do the same for her. So we walked up and I pulled my pants down and started peeing, and she goes, oh my gosh, Stephanie, there is somebody here. And my first thought was, they're going to see my whole butt because I'm in her car lights. And then all of a sudden there was a crack, and I mean, it was loud. It was not thunder and lightning. It was so loud. It sounded like a tree breaking, like a large tree, which up here we know from the winds and even in thunder and lightning storms, when it hits a tree, it'll crack it, booming. And then all of a sudden my friend starts screaming, and she is like shaking and screaming. And I've known her for many years and I've never seen her react that way. And so I was looking to see like if this person that she thought that she saw was attacking her, or, you know, is it a bear? It could be a grizzly. It could be a cougar. It could be, you know, anything at this point. And I'm not seeing anything at first. And then I hear this sound, and all of this is like within seconds. It was like a growl and almost like a hiss, like a like that, but it was deep. Like, you know, when it comes from big lungs.
Yeah.
And I know what must sound like. They don't sound like that. Elk. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that before. Like I said, I'm in the lights of the car, and so I turned to look at it because obviously, I mean, I'm literally caught with my pants down at this point. And what I've seen was horrid. I don't know. I didn't smell anything personally. I don't know how I didn't. At first, when I seen it, I seen the color of a deer and like the white on the ear. And I actually said out loud, oh, did the deer scare you? Because, like I said, at first glance, that's the color, the ear, it was a deer. And then I continued to look as it's running, and it wasn't like running in the sense of a normal run, like if you were alarmed. It was almost like a prance, like how a deer would jump through large or really tall grass, you know. It was very graceful. It wasn't, and you could see the part of its eye that was drooping really low, like it was like the skin was hanging off of its skull. There was no like tissue there.
Was it?
at the
It wasn't standing upright though. It was like
it was all fours.
okay.
It was like it was rotting. It looked like it was rotting from the point to where you could see bits of it almost looking like it's falling off. You know,
Yuck. Yeah.
it was disgusting. And the antlers were huge, which is, or not antlers, horns, or however you want to put it. They were huge, and I mean huge. Probably I would say like 3 feet. They were huge. And then it was gone. And that's when I by that time I had pulled up my pants and I'm screaming, like I'm running to the car. She's running to the car. We're in full to the point where I was like tripping over my own feet, trying to get into the vehicle. And I kind of looked over and I was up on a hill where I was going to the bathroom. It was at the bottom of the hill. That was huge. I mean, it was huge. It was like the size of an elk. Huge.
But not an elk. It was something.
And the head was very disproportionate to the size of the body. The head looked like a typical deer head, like size wise. Thin, but
like small compared to the rest of the body.
Right. And like I said, we had seen many deer that night driving up through. Probably a good 15 to 20 just jumping around, having fun. As deer do. It's kind of my favorite to watch them. You can see the buds on them. Like they're just starting to grow their horns. They're not, their antlers. They're not exactly large like that. They shed in the spring and grow them in the summer, or throughout the summer and for winter. And so it was shocking. And by the time we got in the car, I mean, we pulled out of there like a bat out of hell. And we got back onto the road, and that's when we realized that, like I said, all of this was moments. I mean, it took the time for me to start peeing to pretty much end peeing is our time frame. We had lost over an hour in time. Yeah. I have no idea where it went. I mean, like I said, I checked the clock thinking, I should call my husband. I should tell him where I'm at, kind of thing, on our way down there. And so down to the boat launch. And so I couldn't figure it out. And I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I still can't. I can't explain it. I try and come up with different reasons for where that hour went, and I can't find it, to be quite honest. Because I looked at the clock. It was almost like I wanted to know that exact moment, when it had happened. I was shaking. I was obviously, a panic attack was in full bloom. Felt like vomiting. My friend was obviously shaken up. And we had to sit in the car, almost in complete silence for a while, until we got into Sandpoint, Idaho, because we weren't going back the way we were. Mind you, it only took us 10 minutes to get down that mountain, when before it felt like forever. We got into Sandpoint and we pulled into a gas station that was, it was closed, but it was well lit at least. And we just kind of looked at each other and said, what was that kind of thing? Now we can assess. Now we can freak out.
And did you guys both describe the same thing? Did you see the same thing?
To the T.
Okay.
To the T.
It was. What do you think?
I believe, after looking up online.
Yeah.
Google, which can sometimes be great and then be terrible. What it looks like to me in some of the depictions and the drawings that has been done is it looked like a Wendigo to me.
I have to look that up.
She also looked it up, and she had seen that as well. Sorry. Um, she had she agrees, but one thing that I'd heard of them, but I always thought that they were in the South. You hear a lot of them in the South when you go on to different like Bigfoot pages and stuff like that, which we like to do. Every once in a while, you'll hear somebody bring it up, but like I said, it's always in like the West Virginia or kind of like very southern region from what I had caught, and I'd never heard of anything like what I saw ever up here.
Yeah.
Like I said, from family to, when you're sitting on a dock, a lot of the time you're sitting there with old timers that tell you all kinds of stories, and I've been, like I said, around so many different people that lived kind of in a rural lifestyle up here that I've never heard of anything that remotely came close to what we saw. We on our way home, because I called my husband because I finally had cell reception, and obviously
Yeah.
and to find out I was, we were an hour and a half out, was disheartening because I wanted to just get home to my kids and my husband, and she wanted to get home to her daughters. And we started talking on the way, and we were saying, what made that crack, because it seemed as though whatever that crack was, that, like I said, that sounded like a tree. I didn't see a tree go down or anything. It's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Is what spooked it almost. The sound when it had made that sound, it was in my friend's face, like very close to it. And it almost like you were this close, but it didn't get us.
Like it was trying to scare her, you think?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I think that whatever cracked in that distance saved our lives that night. I have absolutely no doubt about it. That is, after
Like
thinking about
something
it,
was protecting you that made that noise. Is that what you're saying?
and even if it wasn't
Mm.
for necessarily our protection, even if it was something that just seen it, and was
Yeah.
like, get out of here or whatever, I'm not so naive to think that I know.
Yeah.
But even if it was trying to shoo it out of its area, even if it
Okay.
was, like, I don't want to say that it was, it's because it's seen us and wanted to save us. I think that, it could be an option, but
And besides the look of it, did it make you feel a certain way? Because when I'm reading about this, it sounds like a bad thing, like a really
yeah,
evil thing.
it was, like I said, when we came in, it felt, like I said, for people, we go night fishing all the time. We go into new areas all the time, all summer, throughout fall, spring. Well, again, it's probably not the safest, but we've never had issues. We're pretty comfortable walking into it. There's the dock, there's the water, we kind of get our whereabouts that way, where we're at, especially in the dark. And we're pretty comfortable. When we got out, it was very uneasy, feeling thick. The wind started blowing. Clouds kind of felt like it was moving in. You made you think of like a storm was coming,
Yeah.
It wasn't fully there, but the storm was coming, because it really started whipping. And it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced in my entire life, like all the way up until 24 hours. I think I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't go to sleep. I just seen it. I just kind of held on to my husband, and I was just awake.
Well,
trying to,
I mean, it even sounds like now it's still just talking about it. It sounds terrifying.
yeah, I mean, considering, like I said, it's nothing that I was prepared for. If it was a standing hairy thing that was in the distance that roared at us or made a noise, or we would have been like, okay, get to the car, we know what it is, keep moving. This was something completely different, like I said, that I've never experienced in my entire life. Like I said, I got home and in town, and instantly I called my mom
Yeah.
and was like, Mom, I seen this and I'm scared. And kind of that comfort, and like, what did I just see? Because even as an adult, when you call your mom, you are like, if I don't have the answers, she has to, kind of a feeling.
Yeah.
And I had called my uncle, and he goes, Stephanie, look up Hope, Idaho. And so I did. And there was actually last year on September 10th, so we were 4 days apart. They had found a man there that had eaten his neighbor. And we thought that that was kind of strange, considering where we were at Garfield. It's just on the other, Hope is just on the other side of the Ponderay. So
Oh,
the body of water that we were at. And
yeah.
after doing research on the Wendigo, um, it was weird for sure,
Well,
especially,
because it sounds like this thing can take over a person, giant humanoid,
yeah,
and it's a flesh eating
yeah,
intense fear and becoming an cannibal.
yeah. I, like I said, at the time, I just knew that I was in fear for my life
Yeah.
at that point. I mean, like I said, I didn't know what it was, and I'm not saying for sure it was a Wendigo, because, like I said,
Yeah.
it was 4 legs, and it was just, I know that it was huge, and the rack on this thing was huge. And I've gone through so many different scenarios in my mind just driving home, of trying to explain it away, like the wasting disease that Idaho has, with their, it's affecting their deer. And I'm just trying so hard, but the size of it with a deer head, I mean, deer aren't that size. It doesn't matter. They're not that big. And I know that, like, wholeheartedly, I know that. And my friend knows that. And even if it was like a diseased animal, the other animals that would relate to the size, even if it was wasting, they're not that color. They don't have like that white on the ear. It just doesn't fit, And those are like, this, these are the things that I for sure saw.
Here's the thing. I think you've been up in that area long enough from your childhood on that you would know what you're looking at.
Right.
These are animals that you're familiar with, and this is clearly something that you're not familiar with. We can both agree on that.
Yeah.
It was just something that it's just super confusing and it was fearful for sure.
Traumatic.
Yeah, traumatic.
When me and my friend, she had posted in another group as well, it was more of, has anybody else seen this?
Yeah.
Is it just us? Like, there's
Did
nobody.
anybody respond? Did anybody see something like that?
We had some people that had said, I had friends that were up in the area and they seen something terrible, and that's all I'm going to say.
Mhm.
To a lot of people, our region is very, it's steeped in Native American history, and
Mm.
our tribes are amazing, and we have a lot of them in our region. And a lot of people were saying maybe it was a shapeshifter,
Mhm.
which, I mean, like I said, I will not say they are right or wrong, because I don't know what it was. As for like when you had asked about what did we feel, I don't know if it pressed a feeling on us, because when you've seen it, it was like instant terror
Yeah.
due to the visual, So I couldn't say if there was anything lingering after, because we didn't stick around. We were right next to our car. We were able to get out of there, and that initial terror stuck with us for at least, honestly, like 42 hours.
Who was driving? You or your friend?
My friend.
And was she like peeling out of there, like going?
Oh, yes. Like a bat out of hell, girl. We were gone.
And were you at first like in silence, or were you just like trying to like get it out and talk about it first?
More of what it was. It was, where do you even start?
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Where do
I've
you,
been in situations like that where you're just trying to like decompress and trying to like get it out, like um try to just like understand what you just saw.
right? Like
Yeah.
all the aspects of it. Like I can close my eyes and I can still see it. Like like I'm standing right there all over again. I can see it. And it was, like I said, in the car, what did I see? Because like I said, in my mind, I was going through a deer, but it was too big. And then what about this? And what about, kind of like process of elimination in my own mind of trying to explain what we had seen away.
How
And then
close do you think you were?
me personally, I was probably about 10 feet.
And your
My
friend was
my
closer?
friend was much closer. It was probably, I mean, it was in her face. So I would say like 4 to 5 feet from her.
And was it like as tall as her?
Oh no, it was the head probably.
Okay.
Yes. That, like I said, the antlers were, I mean, I can't explain this enough. Like something that you would see on a Cabela's wall
Mm-hmm.
from some other place. You know what I mean? Just because they were thin. They weren't, it wasn't a rack that resembled a, like an elk or a moose where they're thicker, or even after bucks get older and that, their horns get really thick, the keratin grows thicker in them. They were thin. They were,
Okay, like little skinny things.
yeah, but it was huge. Like they just shot up and just fanned out. And
Yeah.
again, for the time of year, that doesn't fit. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. It just doesn't. Like that's, like I said, I've tried to go through so many things in my mind to figure
So
out what
what's
I'm
funny, that's interesting is that if I saw that, I would be scared anyway. But
right.
because you know more about those types of animals and the seasons, I
Mhm.
think you're even more confused because you understand that.
Right.
Where I would just be scared because I saw that, where you're even more confused because you know that typically at this stage, the racks would be thicker and fuller. And so, like, there's a whole different element to it as well.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like I said, we had seen lots of deer, and I mean, they're racks at this point. They're just itty bitty. They're little
Yeah.
buds because they shedded them this spring, and it just didn't fit. I mean, we have seen so much, like with hiking. We'd seen a bear this year. We had seen um, multiple moose. Um, like I said, we really like to get outdoors. We know to keep our distance, and obviously from family and growing up, the different things, like you make lots of noise so that way they know you're there, or can hear you in your distance coming up. Um, we it's not as shocking because we know how to handle the situation to keep us safe, our kids safe. Um, I mean, you're rattled a little bit. Nobody, well, at least not me. I don't walk by a bear and think, oh, it's just a bear. But
Yeah.
you're not alarmed in the sense of, oh, it's going to eat us. It was, you just kind of keep your distance and keep moving.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, this was nothing, nothing like I had ever seen. And again, what I was looking into and I had heard of Wendigo slightly before. I didn't look too much into them, but um, from different podcasts and things, you see it, like the animated versions or people's stories, but they're not in the Northwest, the stories that I hear of.
Mhm.
Nobody's like, oh, over in the Colville National Forest, we seen this, or I mean, you just don't see it. You don't hear of it. At least I haven't. And so it was never something that was ever on my radar,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like I'm just
Were you able to see, like, did it have hands or hooves? Do you know?
um hooves,
Okay, because I'm looking at some of these pictures and they look like more like hands,
right?
but it had more like feet like a deer.
It seemed like it would have had hooves. Like I said, I
Okay.
had seen personally from like the neck up, because like I said, I
Okay.
was on a hill
Yeah.
where
Okay.
the lights were shining over. So what I could see fully in the light of the car's high beams was like from the neck up.
Okay.
Another thing, it seemed like it would have hooves by how it like gracefully almost, it seemed like it danced off.
Mm,
It was not like a deer when it's scared. It's like a deer frolicking
yeah.
in tall grass. It did like big jumps, and it was not as it was definitely didn't have the same effect of seeing a deer jump through the tall
Mm,
grass.
yeah.
But it was scary because it was silent. You did, I mean, something that big, you can hear it moving, you can hear the grass, you can hear, even if it's just grass, and it jumped into bushes, like bushes, I would say like the under canopy of the forest. It was a well treed area, the brush. um it had jumped into, it was silent. I heard nothing. I mean, I watched it. There was nothing. There was no sound other than the wind.
Yikes. That's even scarier.
Yeah. So I had I'm just I feel really lucky that my kids weren't with me. It wasn't like a spontaneous family type thing, because I don't ever want them to fear the woods. If we shot that thing with a rifle, I don't think it would have done anything. I mean, it was clearly, it looked dead,
Mm,
just standing, just moving, but dead. It was, how do you kill something that, or protect yourself even from something that's not living looking, you know?
that's so scary.
But I can say that for somebody that usually doesn't have that kind of fear, I will never go back into that area probably ever again for the rest of my life.